Hey party people, Techno here again with another lock video. In this video, we have this tiny little guy. This is the Ace 53076. This is a 29mm brass-bodied padlock with a tiny little hardened steel shackle and double locking spring-loaded locking pawls. This is a lock that Ace recommends for general security purposes, whatever that vague terminology happens to mean. But more importantly here, we have a 4-pin core with security pins in it. And that's primarily the reason that I brought this lock out for the next in this series of related videos, starting with the Master Lock 140, then the Abyss that we looked at, brass-bodied padlocks for light security uses, things you might throw on a gym locker, but something that doesn't have the egregious security vulnerabilities of the Master Lock 140. And we even saw the Abyss fall prey to probably the worst of those with an overlift attack. So this lock, again, in terms of size, is quite a bit smaller than those, but in terms of core is very similar. So I wanted to see what this core was capable of before we move on to this lock's larger sibling, which is more similar in size to the 140 and the Abyss, but that boasts a 5-pin core, which is nothing but a good thing, but this seemed like the logical next progression. So as far as the shackle goes, again, this is utilizing tiny little spring-loaded locking pawls down there. So just be aware that you can shim this lock. It can totally be done. But this is also a lock that is clearly not meant for high security applications. I'm sure if you hit this hard enough with a hammer, it would probably break open. Although I haven't tried that. So just a suspicion of mine. So let's go ahead and see what it takes to pick this open. I will use a top of the keyway tensioner in 40 thousandths. A little bit tricky to hold on to this lock because of its size, so I might have to readjust for the camera here at a point. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started using my Sparrow's Tron pick as well. So on pin 1, we don't have anything. Pin 2, nothing. Moving on to pin 3, subtle little click out of pin 3. I think a little movement on the core there. Nothing on pin 4, back to 1. 1 feels like it's starting to drag a little bit, but we're not quite binding. Pin 2, subtle click out of pin 2. Not really audible, but I felt that. Pin 3, touched pin 3 at this point. We have gone into a false set. That tells me that we're probably in the waist of a spool. So let's go ahead and see if we have counter rotation, and we do. So let's see if we can get pin 3 set here. All right, I think, yep. We set that spool, and now we've gone into an even deeper false set. So let's touch pin 4. Pin 4, I don't feel anything on pin 4. Back up the stack, pass 3 to 2. 2 feels good. So let's go to 1. I think we have some counter rotation here on pin 1. Yep, so I will try to get pin 1 set without dropping the others. And now we have gone into quite a deep false set. Touched 3 and got a click, so it's possible 3 kind of fell slightly out of place there whenever we set pin 1. So 2 feels good. 3 feels good. Yeah, 4, 3, 2. Make sure that pin 1 is all the way set. It does feel like it is, so I think we might have dropped 3 down. Counter rotation on 3. There we go. So reset 3 and we have an open. Not too shabby for a lock of such a small stature. That was actually pretty nice in the core. Tight tolerances on this lock. Overall construction is just generally good on these Ace brass-bodied padlocks, as I found, and this lock is no exception to that rule. Now, when it comes to the failing of the Abyss, it also exhibited pretty strong performance in terms of not only anti-shimming, but pick resistance, but it fell flat because it was still susceptible to that overlift attack. Now, when it comes to this lock, I can tell you that this lock is not susceptible to the overlift attack. On the one hand, it is extremely difficult to even get a tool in here in the first place, partly due to the small keyway, but also because of the sort of tighter, it's just not a very large keyway. in terms of width or overall size. So getting one of these comb picks in there to attempt an overlift attack actually requires, in this case, 2 tools. So for example, I could take my probe here, and I could use this to lift up the pins, and then that will create enough clearance that I can then slide the comb pick into place and get it properly positioned underneath each of those 4 pins. Even at that point, I've tried this a few times, I was not able to actually lift those pins above the shear line. I'm fairly certain that there's just not enough room to do that. But in any case, even if it were possible, the fact that it requires 2 tools and quite a bit of gymnastics with your hand to get this even into proper position would be enough, in my opinion, to fairly mitigate that vulnerability. But I don't think the vulnerability exists in the first place. So in that respect, the ace actually passed. Despite the shimmable shackle, it passes the overlift test quite well. So in the next video, we will move on again to the ace's larger sibling. That's going to be the ace 545-41. And this, again, more analogous in size to the 140 in the Abyss with a 5-pin core. So this is going to be our next video in the series. Until then, take care, everyone. I truly appreciate you watching. Thank you very much for that. Until next time, take care, and I will catch you later.